Darryl Huckaby, along with my co-host, my partner in crime every single morning. We're talking outside the morning show today. We're having casual conversation. DeDe in the morning. What's happening?
Huck, let me just say, first of all, before we start, thank you, because we did that, huh? We've been rolling together for years, and when the ratings come out, I'm ecstatic. So thank you, Darryl. We all did that.
Well, let me thank you back, because the content that you guys give on a daily basis, collaboratively, we all give, is really compelling to our audience. So you're right. We've been blessed to be number one in the market for a number of years now, and looking forward to future number one status. Going to keep that going.
I love it. Okay.
And the fact that we are now celebrating 4 years of you being here in the market in New Haven on 94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city.
For real. Yeah.
And oh my God, it's all like a blur, because COVID just messed, all kind of semblance of time and frame of time up completely.
I know it. We were just talking about that, which I can't believe that, though. It really did. It's like a blur now, right? It was like a blip in our lives, even though it was long. It was, what was it, 2 years? And we were working from home. Remember that? Everybody was working from home and everything. So thank you, New Haven, for bearing with us on that, right? Because it was crazy at first. It was a little crazy.
And we got to use new technology. It's completely crazy how things have changed drastically in terms of how we live our lives 4 years ago, prior to COVID, to how we live our lives today.
Right. Some of the things that during COVID now are the staple, like even us doing this, right?
Yeah, exactly. So everybody knows you as a personality. They hear your voice every morning. They hear the crew. But a lot of people don't know your background. So let's reel it back first before we get into the radio aspect. Talk about, where you grew up, childhood, and young adulthood.
Okay, let's see. Born in Seattle. I won't even say raised, right? Because we left when I was 10. My mama remarried when I was 9. And then he took us to Germany. My stepfather, Bill Bennett. You'll hear me talking about him on the air. Bill Bennett. Bill Bennett took the whole family to Germany for 3 years. We lived in Stuttgart because, of course, military and everything else. And then we came.
How old were you then?
I was 10.
And what was that like, leaving the country, going to a completely different space as a 10-year-old?
At the time, I didn't realize, my older brothers and sisters, because I'm the youngest of 5, they were all like, oh my God, all this other stuff. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand at the time how difficult it was, but it was really great. It was the best experience for all of us. And really and it changed the trajectory of all of our lives, my brothers and sisters, because I had brothers who were getting in trouble. You know what I mean? With the law and everything else. And my mama was very, very nervous about it. And so he really did. He changed it, because that exposure alone was just the best thing. And the military was so great. It's a melting pot. It's everybody together, living together. And so, again, it was the best experience. Bill Bennett, as much as I talk about it, he got on our nerves as a kid. I hated him as a stepfather. He changed our lives.
Well, that's good. And then you came back in young adulthood. You go to college, you go to school?
Yeah, we came back, and I was in middle school, then went into 9th grade. I went to college for a hot semester. I mean, like the university, let me put it that way. I went to the university for a hot semester. Then I transferred to the local community college, because financial aid was things were a little sticky.
Yeah. I understand.
You know what that is like. When that financial aid didn't come in, you were like, well, I better get back home.
Yeah, that puts a hurting on things. And then after college?
Radio. I've been doing radio ever since.
So what was your gateway into radio? Like when you were a kid, were you intrigued by radio and personalities or?
Yeah, let me tell you why. Okay, so when I was a kid, we used to love to read. When we were in Germany, sometimes the TV, it would go off because they only had at the time 1 or 2 channels for the Americans to watch, and it would go off. And so when it would go off, they would have PSAs up. And so me and my brothers and sisters, which they're all in radio too, all of them have done it. We would all read the PSA as if we were, or the newspaper too. We would get the newspaper and read like we were on TV or radio.
Oh, wow.
And so we would read and try to outdo each other. We'd like, your turn. I bet I could do it better. And so that's how we really got it. And my mom, a lot of people didn't know this, when we were living in Seattle, my mother had a friend who was on the radio there, and he would call my mom to do commercials for him and do voiceover work for him on the radio when we were kids. So we kind of were, and she was a singer when I was a kid, my mom was a singer. So she was always inside of entertainment and all that kind of stuff.
So entertainment runs through your veins.
Yep. Yeah.
So what was your your break into radio?
What
was your first job and where?
It was in Copperas Cove, Texas. Very, very small.
Okay.
It's near Fort Hood because my stepfather was stationed at Fort Hood. So that's how we ended up in Texas, even though my mom's whole family lives on the West Coast in California and Seattle. But we ended up, And so then basically I was going to the local community college when I had gotten back after that one strong semester at the university. And I go to the local college and I needed a job. And so somebody told me they were hiring for a receptionist at the radio station. So I thought, you know what? Why not? I'm going to get in. And I went in as the receptionist. Yeah. And that was my first job. And they trained me at that country radio station. And my name was going to be Misty Morgan.
Misty, that's a nice radio name. That's a nice.
I would have been Misty Morgan on your radio. I would have been talking with an accent.
So you started at the bottom and worked your way up because your entry was in the door of radio, but not on air as radio.
No, I was, receptionist. And then guess what? They trained me. The country radio station trained me. So the owner of the radio station's wife heard me on the air accidentally. So I was the receptionist. I went in to hand the afternoon guy something while he was live on the air. And he said to me, DeDe, come get on the microphone real quick and describe this toy that we're auctioning off. So he and I are bantering back and forth. I'm just the receptionist, just happened to go in and hand him something. And we're having a great time talking. The wife, the owner's wife heard it, told him, you need to train her. She's got great personality, a good voice. You need to train her. And so the country radio station trained me. So during my lunch break, I would go and practice. I wouldn't even go to lunch. I would go into their, production room on the weekends during my lunch hour. I would just practice being a DJ. And then I overheard them saying, one of the DJs said, we can't have that black girl on this country radio station. This is years before they even started having folks sing country music now, right?
Yeah.
Black folks sing country. And so they were like, no, we can't have no black girl on our, and it's Copperas Cove, Texas. Small little town in Texas. And I overheard that conversation when he said, we can't have this black girl do this country music. I left. I was offended and I left.
And where'd you go from there?
And then I went and I was the secretary for a general manager. Right. I left being a receptionist, then that. And then I ended up making a tape and sending it over to the black radio station across town. And they hired me like within a day. They heard my tape, even though I had no experience. I was really just, look, I was a receptionist. I was the general manager's assistant. I was not on the air. And so I gave them a tape I had done in the production room. And then they hired me and they were like, we know you have no experience, but we love your sound. And that was it. Well,
you have the personality and the sound. But, you without experience, because you could tell, and, you've been in for how long? Decades.
I'm not saying.
We won't divulge how long we've both been in the industry.
Right.
But it's been a while.
Yes.
And over the years, you could tell by hearing somebody, their sound and their personality, if they fit, because we're just being ourselves on the radio.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, there's this whole acting aspect of it. We're just being ourselves, having conversation, talking about different things that people are interested in.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And so, no, and it's funny because before I started doing morning radio, I was really more concerned with my voice than I was with my personality, right? When you're a radio DJ, they were at the time, everybody was really in love with their voices, and the women had to. And so I was really into that. And then once I started doing mornings, I was the co-host on the morning show. I realized personality mattered more. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to be me.
And there's a big difference doing a solo show and other day parts versus doing a morning show as part of a group.
Oh yeah, you get more freedom on the morning show and more freedom to be you and and that's a chance for people to really hear your personality and who you really are. And so I love that. My mama used to always say I had too much personality. Matter of fact, before I got married, I'd go on dates and my mom would go, okay, listen, before you go on a date, don't be yourself. And my mom would go, because if you're yourself, you're going to talk too much.
You need to bring it down a little.
Yeah. She was like, and the guy's going to get scared and he's going to run.
Wow. Great advice from mom.
Yeah. So mama said, don't be yourself.
Now you have the opportunity to be yourself on steroids every single day.
Heck yeah. And it's a blessing, isn't it?
Now over the years, you've accumulated quite a few accolades and acknowledgments, and that's a testament to, your on-air persona, your personality, and the crew that's been around you. Before this run as a syndicated morning show, you were part of another show.
Yes, the Doug Banks Show. Yes, yes. Doug Banks was a giant in urban radio, and I was blessed to be his co-host. And it was funny when I first got on with him, people told me, "You're not going to last. You're not going to last." They would tell me that Doug Banks went through co-hosts a lot, right? They kept going, "You won't last 2 years." I was like, "Okay." And then when I got in there, he would tell me his favorite co-host was Shirley Strawberry, the one who works with Steve Harvey, right?
Yeah.
She was Doug Banks's co-host in Chicago for years. So he used to always tell me that was his favorite, right? So I'm listening to it, I was like, oh yeah. I ended up working with Doug and most people didn't even know this, while on the radio in Dallas as well. For 5 years, I was doing 2 jobs. I was working with Doug Banks in the afternoons, and I was working on the mornings in Dallas. And people didn't know it for 5 years. I did both jobs, but I liked it so much, and I loved so much working with him, and I learned so much. And he was like a brother, and it was so much fun. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I was just so blessed. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave working with him.
So you guys started in the afternoons before you shifted to mornings?
Well, yeah, we were in the morning. So Doug Banks show was in the morning. We used to be on in New York back in the day. So
my mom used to love you guys in New York.
In New York. WBLS for 10 years we were on, right? And then he got tired of doing mornings. And a lot of people didn't know Doug was sick. You know, he had diabetes and, you know, that's how he passed. But he was sick and he just got tired of it and the grind and the traveling and everything. So eventually we just moved to afternoons. And so the last 5 years that I worked with him, we were doing afternoons. So we did first mornings and then we did afternoons.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely gone too soon. I would love to get to know him, you know, from afar and through, you know, Russ Parr, who was my morning show I was programming for in DC. So, you know, it's funny how it's a small world in terms of broadcast. We all know each other. We go to the same conferences over the years. And, you know, although COVID changed that, a lot of relationships that we developed prior to that still linger on. So,
yeah, because I called Russ, his show. I saw, you know, radio is crazy and he had been doing it. I want to have that kind of longevity. This is a guy who did radio for 27 years on the air doing his morning show. And I said, God, I wish I could. That's a goal. And I called to congratulate him. And I mean, it's like, we would love that, right?
Yeah, I was blessed to do 10 of those 27 with him. So
really nice. See,
I was program director and ran the syndicated show. And I was blessed because when I got to DC, he was a local morning show. And then when the broadcast company expanded and started acquiring stations throughout the country, that's when we syndicated him. So I was blessed to be a part of that growth.
You're part of that, yeah. Isn't that funny how time has flown by? Because really, when we think about getting, I had spent 1 semester in college, got home and was working at the country radio station. That's how quick, like, it happened for me. Like, we were all doing this so young and didn't realize it, right? We were all like in this radio. People were starting at 15, like Doug, who I work with, started at 15.
Yeah.
And isn't that funny? And people will say to you, Huck, they'll go, oh my God, I grew up listening to you. You're like, I was growing up with you.
Donnie Simpson started at 15 in Detroit.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. See? And that's something people don't realize that.
And his show just ended in DC. So he's like 40, 50 years in the business.
Wow. That's crazy though. That's a run. It's a blessing.
Rarity. I mean, that is a blessing. And that goes to show, you know, talented people last a long time.
Yep. I agree.
But you got to change with the time. So, you know, we adapted 3 years ago to COVID. We took a hard left.
Yes, we did. And I'm still learning and adapting to the way things are going. You know, now with social media, we got to do more of that now. You know, it's funny because when we were, you know, you get started in radio, a lot of times we were like, nobody saw us. We could come in with no makeup on and nobody cared what you wore. And you know what I mean? We came into radio looking crazy. Now it's like, before we film, let me put some makeup on.
Mm-hmm. Can you, well, that goes to show how long we've been in the business, but we were in radio before internet existed.
Oh my God. I mean,
I learned reel to reel, cutting and splicing and all that.
Well, hold on a second. No, I didn't go that far back.
Okay.
Okay, Huck. Wait a minute, Huck.
So let me ask you this. How do you keep radio fun? How do you keep it interesting for you being in it for so long? I mean, because we do the same thing day in and day out, and there's got to be, you know, obviously we have a passion for what we do, but what's the thing or things that keep you motivated, that keep your flame flickering?
You know what keeps me motivated is the listener. Yeah. The listener keeps me motivated. The idea that I get to set the tone for their morning or their day, the fact that I get to either educate them or put them up on something that they didn't know about or spark a conversation that they never thought about having. That's what motivates me, because really the main thing was, I remember saying that watching radio and watching all some of the greats and what they do, I'm always said I wanted to be like them. But the main reason was because I just really wanted to educate our community. I just really wanted to educate our community and our audience and get us to think of things in a whole different way sometimes, and so I think that's what really keeps me going, because it's so much fun. It's a blessing to be able to do it.
What's your most memorable, or if you can't do one, your few most memorable moments in radio?
Well, one of the memorable ones was when I interviewed DeDe. And he and I were talking on the air, and I thought, it really showed me how he was about business. And he was like, yeah, we were on the air and we were having a really good time. We were joking and laughing. I was like, oh my God. Okay. And then the mics turned off and he went straight business. I mean, straight business. I was like, that was really funny, huh? And he was looking at me like, I don't have time for you. And so he was telling all his people, go do this, go this. I need you to do this. And he was just doing business in between us being on the air. When I told somebody, I said, I get it, that guy. So that was very memorable. Going to the White House to meet Barack Obama was very memorable. And I got that opportunity because of being on, radio. So that's memorable. Who else? What has been a memorable? The time that I had to read a live commercial. I had to read it live, and my producer was real silly. It was a girl, female at the time, and we couldn't stop giggling, and I couldn't get through the live read. It was a 60-second commercial that took me 5 minutes to complete because I couldn't stop laughing.
That's one of those moments in radio when you're live and the mic is hot.
And you're trying, and I was trying.
Yeah.
And I knew they had paid for this commercial, so I had to get through it, but it took me forever. I laughed so hard. So anyway, that was a memorable moment on the radio, yes.
You have any moments you want to forget? Any unique occurrences that happened that?
No, there hasn't been any I'd want to. No, I mean, it's been really good. No.
Okay. I had one. I was doing the morning show years ago before I went down to DC with Radio 1, and we were on a mic break talking, and I was sitting on a stool that broke. I fell over.
Oh God, no!
Carton. This is back in the days of carton.
No, and it stopped.
No, we were still live. It was all live on the air.
Oh, okay.
But it was the most embarrassing thing of, falling and you're, talking anyway.
Yeah. The only thing I only had one instance like that, and then incident, and it was a learning moment for me, but I'll never forget. I was just getting started in radio, and this is just something for everybody to hear if they ever, we were doing a live broadcast somewhere, and I thought it had dropped. Oh. And all of a sudden, in the middle of me talking, I don't hear anything in my headphones. And I go, what happened? Oh my God. And, I'm like freaking, it's not on. And I'm going on. And the engineer, everybody's telling me to keep going. So all of a sudden I just stopped.
Yeah.
And so I guess they went to commercial and they said, no matter what happens, when that mic is in front of you, finish your sentence, because you don't know whether or not you're on or not. I was on the air, me freaking out going, we're not on. All of this was live on the radio. It was a learning experiment. So ever since then, I will even tell other people who do radio with me, I'll go, keep going. If you mess up or you feel that we're not on, finish your sentence, close it out with the call letters, and then, but I was all on the air sounding just as stupid. What happened? Oh my God.
We've all had those moments. Now, if somebody's looking to get into radio, what type of advice would you give them? If somebody was interested in a career in radio but didn't know how to approach it?
Be patient. Right now it's changed. You know what I mean? It really has changed a little bit. So I would suggest people be a little bit patient, understand that it is a business and it still is going to require work, but just be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. That's all I would tell somebody. It's not.
Yeah. And I've noticed over the years, and maybe it's the younger generation, because they like that microwave mentality. They want go from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. Like, I just walked in the door. I want to do a morning show next week. No, it doesn't work like that. You got to roll up your sleeves, kind of put in your dues, but more importantly, hone your craft and follow people that are where you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's the old school method, at least how I came up. I just attached myself. I listened to, people that I thought were great on the radio. I aligned myself with mentors that were good in radio, both from an on-air and programming standpoint.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think podcasting has opened up a new venue for people to practice their chops as if they're really serious about it. I mean, there are some podcasts I can't even stomach now. I mean, I got to tell you something, you guys, and that's the other difficult part. When this is what you do for a living professionally, you've been doing it for years. So when you're listening to some of them and you hear some of them, I immediately have to turn. I can't take it anymore.
So speaking of podcasts, and, I wasn't even going to ask you this, but I will. There was a podcast that broke the internet a couple of weeks ago.
Which one?
Cat.
Oh, Cat Williams. Yeah. Oof.
I mean, the response on that one podcast, of course, he said a lot of things, but garnered a lot of responses within the industry and just giving us a lot of talking points.
I know, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's interesting how, with the online aspect that everybody has access to now, because, between social media and podcasts, everybody has a bully pulpit.
Right. But here's the thing. The only thing with that is, everybody does. And right now, when you're looking on social media, everybody's trying to be the shock. Let me say something that's going to shock and grab and go viral. Right. Which somebody I saw at the beginning of the year, they said, we'll be glad when this trend is over. Everybody's talking about relationships. We have no experience whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'll be glad when that trend ends. Right. They said they're hoping 2024 it will end. But I think that the one thing with the podcast, I think a lot of people end up getting into it. Everybody thinks they can do it and want to make it pop. And I'm sure they do based on those, scandalous conversations or whatever. But I think that what Shannon Sharpe tapped into was unheard of. When they said, what is it, 50 million people watch, more than people watch TV, watch that. That was that was lightning in a bottle that I don't know if you can duplicate every week, every year. And most of these people have to understand that is just very rare. Yeah, I had one of those moments with Charleston White that I didn't know about, right? I ended up doing an interview with Charleston White that went viral that I never expected. But those are lightning in a bottle.
You never know when it's going to happen. So, the key is just to be yourself and whoever you're talking to. And we talk to people every day on the radio. Right. So you never know what kind of nuggets they're going to leave or what kind of buttons they're going to push that will spark that type of reaction from the listeners. So
right. So
4 years, man. We got to get you back up here.
I know it.
Real soon.
How's the white party and how's Juan doing?
Juan is good. Juan is doing good. We're holding it down. The station overall is doing very well.
I know it. Thank God.
So, they say the morning show is the anchor to all radio stations. So we have a good anchor in you guys. Speaking of which, the crew. So you have a nice crew around you, and that's also key to being a part of a morning show or being the lead of a morning show is to surround yourself with, people that you have chemistry with that bring value to the table as well to enhance what you have. So talk briefly about your colleagues.
All right. Well, I can tell you, let's see. Jay Cruz is the pretty boy. He says he would be a 10 if he were taller. He's the pretty boy, though, the radio professional and with the radio voice and everything. He's the radio guy, right? Father of many, I always say, because that guy there, what is it like? Every time you turn around, him and the wife are popping out another one. And I just love working with him. He's so easy to work with and so much fun. And willing to learn all the time. And then there's comedian JJ Williamson, who is funny. We were lucky to find JJ, who had never done radio before, never done it. Trey G was part-time at another radio station that we're on. Trey G was a part-timer who ended up doing some work with us and he's stuck. We don't know how he's stuck. I swear it's the funniest thing. A guy called up one day. One of our listeners said, I don't know how Trey G got on the morning show, but we like it. And I was like, I don't know either.
I heard that comment. I remember that comment.
And we laughed so hard. And then Keita Rose. And now Keita is kind of pulling back a little bit. I just want everybody to know Keita is on a very popular. Now they found the lightning in the bottle with her podcast, Tonight's Conversation, which is very, very huge. And they're on like a 40 or 60 city tour this year.
They'll be in New York, and I know a few people here in Connecticut are planning on attending that because of the popularity and the content that they bring.
Right, and she's on the road for that, and so now she's in and out, so you guys will hear her because Keita is so dang busy, but she's so wonderful. You talk about opinionated and funny and one of the most talented women I've met and seen in radio in a long time. She really is. So I'm very, very blessed to work with some great people, and you too.
It's come full circle. I remember when I first met you, All-Star Weekend in Philadelphia. With Doug was there, and we were at the Four Seasons Hotel, and I was meeting some of my Radio 1 colleagues there, and you and Doug. I saw and I knew Doug, so I went up to him, and my mother was listening to you guys on BLS all the time, so she was with me, and my sister was with me, and she's like, I got to meet DeDe and Doug. I got to meet DeDe and Doug.
That's sweet. I hope I was nice.
No, you were, of course.
Okay. No, but you never know. And let me tell you something I've realized now. Some people will say this to me. They'll go, we met you and you weren't nice. And I'll be like, well, what was I doing? You said hi. And I was like, okay, maybe I was focused on something. I should have said more. Yeah. That's why I always ask, I hope I was nice. Because some people will say, if I get, you get busy and you don't know what you're doing at that
Right.
time.
And in public
people,
too. Yeah.
right. And people will be pulling you this way or that way. So that's why I said, I hope I wasn't nice. Your mama didn't think I was a rude lady.
She enjoyed it. I mean, she always talks about that.
Good.
Philadelphia, All-Star Weekend, DeDe and Doug.
Can I tell you that really is important to me, though? That's the reason why I asked that. Because one time it did happen and it changed me forever. We were in Chicago and a lady had come to see me. She drove a long way and I didn't know. And she came in to say hi, but there were so many people around saying hello. And I said, hi, good to meet you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for listening. And then I went and said hello to the next person. She cried and told my producer that she drove 2.5 hours and she wanted more time with me. And I was like, oh God, I'm so sorry. You get what I'm saying? Like, so I'm very concerned. I don't know why. Ever since then, that has always stuck with me. So I always make sure that I hope the encounter somebody had with me was what they expected. And I can't do that all the time, I know, but it just still bothered me.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the challenges of being a public figure. When you're out and about, we do this every day for 4 hours, 5 hours every morning, but we have a personal life. So if we're out and about doing some personal things, we got to go to the grocery store. We got to do the regular things that everybody else does. And we're not necessarily in that personality mode, right? And somebody catches us, then, that's the challenge of balancing both, being courteous, because you don't want to lose a listener. You don't want to piss anybody off, but still you want to, kind of have your personal space sometimes.
That's what I often tell people, with doing this. For instance, last year Trey G lost his mom. And I didn't say it because I didn't want, that was on him, but here we were trying to still, entertain. Same thing with JJ lost his wife last year, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
The show suffered a lot of sickness and death last year, but we still got on every day and did our best to entertain. And people don't realize sometimes it's heavy. And we have those days. And there are days when I've argued with my husband all the way up until 3 a.m. in the morning, but I got to get and smile and go, hey, everybody, welcome to DeDe in the morning. All right. I tell people, guess what? Radio personalities in the morning, we may be a little bipolar.
Yeah, that's true.
We got to shut parts of our emotions off. Yeah.
We get up so early. Our day starts so early. So we don't have a traditional day like a 9 to 5. We get up at dark 30 in the morning. And then we do our thing. And then we still have the rest of the day to function as a person, right, outside of radio and do some of those things. So our balance is a little off in terms of juggling a lot of things. Yeah. Going back to lightning in a bottle, when you mentioned JJ and Trey G, I find it interesting that over the years, that's a lot of times how you find people that blend in and that are good for radio or good for a team that, when you least expect it. When I remember when I first heard JJ, right, it's like he had that Southern kind of drawl charm and everything, but he fits in. He was a perfect piece to that puzzle. And Trey G, I remember when he was doing phones and things in the studio, and every now and then he would bounce in and out. And then all of a sudden, I mean, he's got a great personality as well. So you find people when you least expect them sometimes.
And that's what I like. Can I tell you what I really wanted? I always wanted to have my own morning show, and I always wanted it to be this authentic. And the reason why I say authentic enough is because there are people who can get in front of a mic and they'll clam up and they won't be themselves. And they got in front of the mic and they didn't know any better and they were just themselves. And I said, that's who I want. They didn't know any better, but you give them, there are some who will get in front of the mic and they'll turn on and be someone different. Like I don't put my mom on in the radio anymore. Because my mom has figured out what it is she puts on now. So she's not herself. And I'm like, where's that lady I grew up with who used to cuss me out? They talk crazy. Now I get her on the radio and she'll go, hello, yes. And she answers questions like, and I'm like, that ain't you. Where's my mama at?
And that's the key, I think, to being successful in radio is just being yourself. A lot of people think, like in movies or something, spotlight is on, camera, lights, camera, action, and you go into a persona. We're not a persona. We're our real selves that just happen to be on radio, just talking, organically.
Yeah. What you see is what you get. I just don't cuss on the radio. That's the only thing. And I don't understand because I got to be honest with you. Huck, you know what? I grew up in a household where my mama cussed a lot. She was funny. She used to listen to Richard Pryor albums and all that. My mother loved comedy. Oh, who was her other one she always listened to? Millie Jackson.
Millie?
My mama listened to Millie Jackson.
Mom's Mabley?
She listened to anything that was vulgar. My mama listened to everything vulgar as a kid. So I just want everybody to know, I do have a potty mouth sometimes when I'm not on the air.
I had to reel back. My days in DC, I was a little off the edge. So I've calmed down a lot since then. Not on the radio, but off air.
Well, my husband just told me the other day, he goes, you have a potty mouth. You need to stop. And I think I said the ish word. I said, for real? Is it that bad? Ish. He told me it was too much.
Funny. All right. I got some questions for you. Favorite movie?
The first one that comes to mind is The Count of Monte Cristo.
First book that comes to your mind?
Well, hold on. I'm going to tell you something. The Count of Monte Cristo was one, and Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
Have you ever seen The Count of Monte Cristo, by the way?
No.
You should see it with the guy, Jim Caviezel. And I'm not crazy for him anymore because he's like, really pro like Trump or whatever. But that's okay. But whatever. But I like him. And the movie is so great. And it's a message about God throughout. And it's basically about a guy who, okay, forget it. Anyways, and Shawshank is my other favorite. Okay, go ahead.
I'll put that on my list.
Yes.
Favorite author?
Who did I used to read a lot? Actually, one of my favorite that I read the whole series pretty much was the Left Behind series. Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins. It's based on Revelation. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Left Behind series.
Okay.
Read all of them.
All right. I'll add that to my list. Do you cook?
No. Oh, let me tell you the other author you guys should get, by the way. Florence Scovel Shinn. She has a book called The Game of Life and How to Play It. It's one of my favorites. The Game of Life and How to Play It. It is when you first open, it's going to talk about how life is nothing but a boomerang. Whatever you put out is what you're going to get back in return. It's as soon as you read the book, you're going to already know you're going to like it. It's Bible-based, and I love it. Again, The Game of Life and How to Play It, Florence Scovel Shinn. That's one. No, I don't cook.
At all?
I try.
Can you boil an egg?
Yeah, I could do that. I attempt to cook. Now, I'm going to tell you what I can cook really good. For some reason, seafood gumbo.
Really?
My mom was born in DeRidder, Louisiana, and so she always cooked gumbo. And when I moved away from home, I always wanted the taste, so I learned how to make that better than anything. It's the hardest thing to make, but it's the only thing I can make really well.
Next time you make it, can you freeze some and send it up?
I sure will. It's really good with the crab and the shrimp and all of that.
Recreation. What's your best? What do you like for relaxing or?
I used to love to read, but I got to tell you what I'm getting back into, and I got my husband into, and I swear we went this past weekend, antiquing. I love it. Can I tell you why? And I keep saying, I do. Let me tell you what I collect. I collect a lot of old celebrity dolls. Like I have a Michael Jackson doll, a Biggie, a Tupac. I got a Snoop Dogg. I got Master P's doll. I have Cher. You get what I'm saying? Like I love to collect that. I love old microphones because it's what we do for a living. So I was doing a lot of collection of that. I have a lot of old Black movie posters, originals. Like I love old Black movie posters.
I have a friend that collects those and frames them.
Yep, mine are all framed and I've been getting into it. So right now, what I want, my husband's been going with me. I want to do it to our cave. It's not a man cave anymore. It's our cave.
Oh,
our cave. Me and him.
Yeah.
He had a man cave, but I said no, it's mine too. So, anyways, what I'm looking for is one of those old, and what I've been antiquing all weekend. He went with me. He's having fun. An old record player, a console, one of those that was old, long,
big one, the floor model. Oh yeah,
floor model. And I want to refurbish it and put it in our cave.
You talked to a Black business up here, Bloom, Alicia Crutchfield. She has one in her store. And
really?
Yeah.
Where'd she get it?
I'll ask
Do you
her.
know? Ask her where because I want one so bad. You know what I mean? Like those things are they're obsolete basically. And they're such a classic and they're such an antique. And so if there's anybody who's parents, auntie, or anybody who's gonna get rid of something, hit me up because there's a lot of Black paraphernalia and antiques that we're not keeping. We need to keep.
Got to keep it through the generations, pass it down.
You know what really made me realize and pull some of mine? Like I even found when I used to go antiquing, I found some Life magazines, right? There for 20 years. Life magazine wouldn't put us on the front cover, anybody of color. And so now anytime I find some, I frame them and keep them. And what's so crazy, I went to the Spike Lee exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum a couple of months ago. And a lot of stuff that he had in there, I went, hey, I collect some of the same things, Spike. Like it was crazy. Some of the Black paraphernalia that he collected, I get it. And I just think that we all should start doing that.
I used to collect a lot of Jet and Ebony magazines back in the day. And for some reason, I fell off and I didn't keep them. And
guess what? You got to preserve. You realize now we got to preserve this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I also used to collect the California raisins back in the day when they were hot.
Are you serious? Are you serious? I love it. I'm not mad at that. So,
all right. So you cook seafood gumbo, but what's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
I can eat pizza about 3 times. My husband can't stand it. I eat pizza a lot. When it's crawfish season, I love crawfish. I'm a big, huge crawfish and crab eater.
You got to bring your husband up to New Haven to have it because we got the best pizza in the country.
Oh, I know it. Pepe's Pizza?
Yep.
Come on, that clam pizza is amazing.
Matter of fact, because you spent some time in Connecticut doing radio.
I lived in Old Saybrook and Old Lyme for maybe a year and a half. I lived there.
Yeah. What's your favorite color?
Orange. Makes me happy.
Favorite car?
Favorite car. I don't have a favorite. I'm not a car person necessarily. I'm really not. No, I really want. And guess what I want now? Here I go again. I think I must be. I don't know what's going on, but I keep telling the husband, guess what I really, really want? I want an old school Mercedes or an old school Jag from like 1970 something. Wouldn't that be cool? Like and refurbish it. Oh my God, I love it. I want one of those. I want a classic now.
Maintenance on those would be kind of tough.
Oh, it is. Is it expensive?
Well, sometimes to if you use it a lot. Now, if you don't use it a lot, just you collect cars, then yeah. But
no, I don't collect cars. I was gonna just drive it all the time. Well, maybe not.
All right, you're stuck on an island, and you can only have music from 5 artists with you. Who you got?
Give me Rihanna, Whitney Houston, Drake. That's 3. Who else do I like that I can listen to all day, every day? I mean, we're not supposed to, but I was a R. Kelly fan. I'm sorry. R. Kelly singing to me was just, you couldn't get any. Yeah.
That's sad. I mean, that whole storyline behind that is sad because he had notwithstanding what he did, his talent and his music was incredible. Yeah. And it still is incredible. It's unfortunate that it's,
right.
kind of been buried.
Which I'm starting to go, wait a minute, everybody. I was watching a movie the other day and it was from the Weinstein Company. I said, now, why do we get to still enjoy Weinstein movies, but we can't enjoy R. Kelly music?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But yeah. I was a huge, but I would probably have to, because and see, that's 4. And then who else? And Lil Wayne, anything by Lil Wayne.
Okay.
I know Drake, Lil Wayne, and I like, R. Kelly, and then there's some Whitney Houston. I mean, yeah, there you go.
So no MJ or Prince?
I do love Prince though. I'm a fan. Can I be honest with you? I was such a Prince fan. Oh gosh, but dang it. I forgot. I don't know. You gave me 5. Who would I get rid of if I didn't I'd have to kick Lil Wayne out and put Prince in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wayne is talented though. He's got a good body of work.
Very, very.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I kick Rihanna out and get Prince.
That's a hard question for anybody to. But
I think I'd have to kick Rihanna out and put Prince and leave Lil Wayne in there too, though. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Huck.
Now, what's a place that you've never been to that is on your bucket list?
Egypt. Every time I want to go and get ready, something happens or something's going on and my mama gets nervous. So I've always wanted to go to Egypt and I've always wanted to go to the south of France. And I want to go to those places. I think that would be so cool. Yeah.
So is that on the agenda for this year?
No. I also want to go, hold on. I want to go to Africa. I keep telling the husband, we're probably going to try to do a trip to Guyana next year. I want to go.
Here's what you got to do. And this goes in line with part of the book that you were talking about. Whatever you
Game
put
of
out,
Life. And
yeah, you got to write it down and then put a date next to it.
You're right. I do need to do that.
Because, a lot of people, not to get philosophical on you, but I read a lot of those types of books too. And I'm all about putting positive energy into the universe and what you put out comes back. But, if you want something, you just can't think about it. It starts as a thought, but then you got to write it down, make it concrete so that you can see it. And then odds are it will become reality.
Okay, but guess what? Then I'll take it a step further, what they often say, because I used to do that. I write down a lot of my goals at the beginning of the year. That's what I do. Uh-huh. I have vision boards. I do all of that. I write it down. And what you're basically saying, what they say, spell it out because you're casting a spell.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but some people say that's what you're doing. when you write it out. You're spelling and you're casting a spell.
You're putting it out there.
Yep.
You're making it, one step closer to fruition.
I love it. Go ahead, Huck. I love that.
I do a little reading something every now and then.
I know, me too. I see your books back there. Here, you want to see some of mine?
Oh, nice.
And they all of them I read. And some of them I put in the storage because I tried to make this my bookcase look pretty. So some of them are in storage, my books. But I used to do a lot of reading. That's what I would do all the time.
I think society has gotten away from that, especially some of the younger generations, unfortunately.
Well, hold on a second. Not the younger generation. Let me tell you something. All of us, because let me tell you why. I could do more reading, but sometimes Instagram, I'll start scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, and it's over.
Why is that so addictive to people? Like I know a number of people, the pastime is scrolling.
Guess what I love? I saw a thing that said, stop your doom scrolling, because a lot of people are, and let's learn something though too, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I like. I like getting on there and discovering interesting information. If I see something's different, I may Google it, but a lot of it I also save for on air. A lot of stuff I'll find for on it, but it's just so interesting. You can't, you get on and you'll go to the next one that's interesting, whether it's about fashion, your home, advice. I mean, this thing it's a walking, and we have an encyclopedia with us at all times, and a TV because we get entertainment.
I mean, during COVID, Netflix blew up. Netflix, Hulu, we started, watching a bunch of movies, watching a lot of TV. Could have spent some time reading. I did a lot of reading too, though.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, you got to have a balance, I think. I tried to do that.
Well, I did just buy a new book that I was going to read from Jonathan Karl. You know who he is? He's a reporter, and he did a new book on Trump. It's the guy who did an interview. And matter of fact, and what made me get it is they say in this book, he talks about some of the despicable things this man has done in terms of even telling Herschel Walker. Have you heard about that? He had told Herschel Walker to say that Warnock was a pedophile.
Yeah, I heard that.
It's in this book that this guy is describing some of the horrible. And I said, let me really read this then myself. I'm not going to go off of what I'm hearing everybody. Let me read this book on this man. So I actually just bought that book maybe a week and a half ago.
That's another downfall of social media. People can say things about certain people. You can put stuff in the universe that's completely false. And, we got a person that does it a lot that happens to be running, which is important. And, real quick, I want to just put this plug in because we're in an election year. So I know you do, and most of us do, encourage people to vote, and tell you who to vote for, but just make sure that you voice your opinion this year and make it matter.
It's getting scarier and scarier to me as we get closer to these elections. Every time it's an election year for president, it just feels really scary, doesn't it? It's like, it's like we're all
on the corner or something.
Yeah. I agree.
Anyway. All right, DeDe, 4 years and counting.
Yep.
The last 2, we've been at the top of the charts.
Thank God. Thank you. Thank you, New Haven. Thank you, everybody.
We've gone platinum a few times.
Yep. Oh, and let me shout out to Waterbury. I have a lot of family there. So shouts out to everybody. The Hunter family. Yep. They're all there in Waterbury. So, there's that connection all the time. And, my sister was in Connecticut she was on the radio for 20 years. My brother was in Hartford. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Whole family.
You got roots here in Connecticut.
Yep.
So we got to get you up here a little bit more often.
All right. Just let me know. I'm always ready.
And thank you so much for everything that you do for our listeners. Every single morning, you and the crew tell everybody we said hello. And, looking forward to a bright future.
A bright future? Oh.
A bright future.
Well, let me tape us as we're finishing up so I can tell everybody. See, this is the kind of stuff that I end up doing. Doing an interview right here. Thank you, Huck. I appreciate it. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Celebrating 4 years with DeDe in the morning on the Rhythm of the City, 94.3 WYBC.